The moment I parked my old blue pickup beside the lake, I knew I'd found the perfect escape from the madness of the HOA. The air smelled like pine and fresh water, birds were chirping, and for once, no one was telling me what color my mailbox should be or how short my grass needed to be cut. But what I didn't know was that I'd just triggered the biggest meltdown in HOA history, one led by none other than our self-appointed queen, Karen Matthews. It all started 2 months ago when my old neighborhood, Maple Creek Estates, turned into a nightmare. The HOA was like a pack of wolves circling anything that moved. I'd get warning letters for leaving my truck parked overnight or for having a small flag on my porch. One time, I got fined because my daughter drew chalk art on our own driveway. Karen, the HOA president, had no chill. Her favorite hobby was walking around the neighborhood with her little clipboard and camera, snapping pictures of violations like she was the sheriff of suburbia. After one too many fines, I decided I was done. I'd saved for years, and with the market crash, land prices near the lake dropped. I saw my chance. There was this hidden gem, an old property beside Silver Pine Lake. It wasn't fancy, but it was not under any HOA control. No meetings, no rules, no Karens. I bought it outright. To me, it was freedom. To Karen, it was war. The first weekend after I moved, I was out by the water setting up a small dock with my buddy Mike. We were laughing, playing some music, and grilling burgers when we heard tires screeching behind us. Karen's shiny white SUV came barreling down the gravel road, dust flying everywhere. She stepped out wearing her usual pastel sweater and pearls like she was headed to a board meeting, not a lakeside showdown. She shouted, "You can't build that dock. This lake belongs to the Maple Creek HOA." I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Actually, Karen, this lake doesn't belong to anyone. It's county property, and my land is on this side of it, meaning you don't have a say here." Her face turned red, like a tomato that had just seen its tax bill. "That's impossible. This whole area is regulated. You can't just move out here and start building things. You're still under the HOA's jurisdiction." Mike chuckled. "Lady, this man moved to get away from your HOA. Maybe read a map before you start yelling." Karen pulled out her phone, probably ready to call the sheriff, or maybe her husband, the HOA vice president, but I had my paperwork ready. I showed her the deed, the zoning maps, and the county seal. Every document proved one thing. My property and dock were legally independent. She stared at them, fuming. "Well, we'll see about that. You can't just start doing whatever you want. This lake is for the community." I smiled. "Karen, I am part of the community, just not yours anymore." From that day on, she made it her mission to ruin me. She'd drive by my property daily, taking pictures, reporting me for fake violations, even calling wildlife control saying I was polluting the lake. None of it stuck. The county officials grew tired of her calls, but that wasn't enough for her. 2 weeks later, I noticed something strange. Every weekend, 2 weeks after Karen's lakeside meltdown, things got weirder. Every Saturday morning, I'd hear the sound of kids splashing and car doors slamming on the far side of the lake. I didn't mind at first, families having fun, enjoying the water. That's what the lake was for. But when I noticed the HOA had set up a giant banner reading, "Maple Creek Lake Day, residents only," I realized Karen wasn't just visiting. She was claiming the lake. Mike nearly dropped his fishing rod when he saw it. "You've got to be kidding me. They're holding events here now." "Yup," I said, sipping my coffee. "On public land." But wait till she realizes half her guests are swimming in water that technically borders my property. Karen strutted around the picnic tables like a wedding planner, barking orders at teenagers setting up chairs. She had her clipboard, her whistle, and that smug grin that could curdle milk. But what really got me was when she walked right up to my fence line, smiled sweetly, and waved. "Lovely day, isn't it? We're just using the lake for our HOA event. Since you live nearby, you're welcome to attend, as a guest," she said, stressing the word guest like she was letting me into a country club. I grinned. "Appreciate it, Karen, but I'll pass. This side's not HOA property. So, technically, I'm already home." Her fake smile dropped faster than a lead anchor. "Well, just so you know, this area falls under community maintenance. We'll be keeping things organized, trash removal, landscaping, water quality checks, so everyone benefits." "Water quality checks?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "Karen, this isn't your backyard pool. It's a natural lake. You can't regulate nature." "Oh, you'd be surprised what we can regulate," she said, flipping her clipboard like a badge of authority. That night, I called the county office. The official on the other end practically groaned when I mentioned her name. Karen Matthews again? Yeah, we've gotten 6 reports from her this month. Don't worry, she has no jurisdiction over your property. The lake's public. As long as you're not blocking access, you're in the clear. That's when the idea hit me. If Karen wanted to treat the lake like her private HOA pool, fine. I'd make her pay for the privilege. The next weekend, I set up a big sign by my dock. Private dock. Access fee $25 per family. Dock maintenance and cleanup included. At first, no one paid attention. But when Karen arrived with her entourage, she froze. Her husband, Greg, who always looked like he wanted to disappear whenever she opened her mouth, pointed at the sign and said, "Honey, maybe we should just use the other side today." "Absolutely not," she snapped. "This is outrageous. You can't charge people to use the lake." "I'm not charging for the lake," I said, walking over. "I'm charging for my dock. You see, the county said I can do whatever I want on my property, as long as it's safe. So, if your HOA wants to use my dock for their little lake days, there's a fee. Maintenance isn't cheap." She glared at me like I'd committed treason. "This is harassment. I'll have you reported." Already checked. IB the following weekend. The war had officially begun. Karen wasn't just angry anymore. She was strategizing. She had that gleam in her eye that said she'd spent the whole week plotting her revenge during her morning yoga and HOA Zoom calls. I woke up Saturday morning to the sound of a chainsaw. I ran outside thinking maybe a tree had fallen. But no, it was Karen's husband Greg trying to cut through a fallen branch near their side of the lake. Right behind him stood Karen with her arms crossed, directing like a general. And beside her, 2 county inspectors she'd somehow dragged out there. When I approached, she turned and gave me that sugar-sweet tone she reserved for moments she was about to cause chaos. "Good morning. Just having a little inspection of the lake. You see, we've received multiple complaints about unsafe dock structures and potential environmental damage. We wouldn't want anyone getting hurt, would we?" I could tell she thought she'd trapped me. But what she didn't realize was I'd already had my dock cleared and registered by the county weeks ago. The inspectors walked over, looked around, and one of them actually said, "Ma'am, this dock is fine. The owner's got all the right permits." Karen blinked like a robot short-circuiting. "What do you mean, fine? Look at that wood. It's untreated. That's a safety hazard." The inspector sighed. "Ma'am, that's treated cedar, and it's environmentally safe. If anything, it's better than the HOA's metal platforms on the other side." Mike, who had been cleaning his fishing gear nearby, burst out laughing. "Told you, Karen, you're not the lake boss anymore." She spun toward me, red-faced. "You think this is funny? You can't keep exploiting a public resource for your own profit." "Funny thing about that," I said, holding up my phone. "According to the county's own website, property owners adjacent to a public lake can build private docks as long as they pay maintenance fees." Which I did. So yeah, people can swim for free. But if they want to use my dock, they pay. That's the deal. That afternoon, Karen called an emergency HOA meeting. I could hear the megaphone from my porch. She'd gathered 24 residents by the picnic tables and was delivering a speech like she was running for office. "This kind of behavior threatens the integrity of our community. If we let outsiders, dock profiteers, take control, what's next? Parking meters for the beach? Entry fees for our trails?" Someone from the crowd yelled, "Karen, it's not even HOA property." Another neighbor added, "Maybe if you didn't make everyone miserable, we'd just ask to use it nicely." She ignored them, of course. We will not be bullied by someone who thinks he's above community standards. The next morning, my dock was trashed. Rope cut, chairs missing, signs torn down. The water was murky with soda cans and food wrappers. I didn't have to guess who did it. Karen's SUV had left tire tracks right up to the edge of my property. I didn't lose my temper, though. I just called the sheriff, showed him my property cameras, and waited. The footage showed Karen and 2 teenagers, probably her son and his friend, sneaking around after sunset, yanking up my rope and dumping trash into the water. The officer whistled. "She's really asking for it. Don't worry, we'll handle it." Karen got fined for property vandalism and littering. She had to pay for cleanup, nearly $500. The look on her face when the deputies served her the papers? Priceless. But of course, she didn't back down. Karen never does. Instead, she doubled down. She started a Facebook campaign called Protect Our Lake, painting me as some greedy outsider exploiting nature and the community spirit. She posted pictures of my dock with captions like, "This is what greed looks like." I could have ignored it, but instead, I decided to use her own energy against her. I expanded my dock, added benches, built a small floating platform with paddleboard rentals. I even put up solar lights along the edges, turning it into a cozy evening spot. And then, I posted my own sign. Dock access, $25. Paddleboard rental, $10. All proceeds donated to Lake Conservation Fund. The locals, not the HOA folks, but real lake visitors, loved it. Families came by, teens took photos, and even a local fishing club asked to host their monthly meetup there. Within a week, my dock had turned into the most popular hangout spot around. Karen, meanwhile, was fuming. Her Facebook campaign backfired spectacularly. The more she complained, the more people came to check it out. Even her own HOA members started asking her why she was trying to ruin something that was actually helping the community. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees and the lake turned gold, Karen showed up again, this time alone. She stood by the fence, arms trembling. "You think you've won, don't you?" she said. I looked up from cleaning my grill. "I'm not trying to win anything, Karen. I just wanted peace. You could have just asked to use the dock." She pointed at the water, voice cracking. "This lake used to belong to us. It was our gathering place, our pride." "Karen," I said gently, "it still can be. But maybe it's time you learned that community doesn't mean control." She didn't respond, just turned around, shoulders stiff, and walked back toward her SUV. But I could tell from her expression, she wasn't done. Not yet. She was just planning her next move. And I had a feeling it was going to be BIG.BY the fourth weekend. It had become clear that Karen wasn't just going to back off. She had transformed into a one-woman storm, showing up every morning with new schemes to intimidate me or reclaim the lake. One Saturday, I arrived at my dock to find her SUV parked sideways across the gravel path. A handmade sign read, "Stop the dock scam. HOA property." I laughed. Mike, who was helping me anchor the new floating platform, whistled. "She's really losing it now. You think she's going to start building a wall around the lake next?" "Wouldn't put it past her," I replied. Karen came marching down the path, clipboard in hand, a megaphone dangling from her arm like a weapon. "You are exploiting this community. I have contacted the county, the local press, and I am filing an injunction. You will pay for your arrogance." I stepped forward calmly. "Karen, I've already shown the county every permit. The press loves this place. Families are coming. Kids are safe. The lake is cleaner than ever thanks to donations from dock fees. What exactly do you want me to do? Stop improving the lake?" She narrowed her eyes. "You are humiliating me in front of my HOA. This is war." I smiled inwardly. This was the opportunity one had been waiting for. Karen thought she could scare me, but her obsession had made her predictable. I had already prepared my next move. "Fine," I said. "Let's make it interesting. If you and your HOA want to use the dock legally, you'll have to pay." Karen sputtered. "Pay? That's outrageous." "Outrageous," I said, pointing to the sign. "The dock cost me thousands. Maintenance isn't free. You've been enjoying it for months without contributing. Now, either you pay $25 per family or find another way in." She turned beet red, muttering under her breath. But then something amazing happened. Families from the HOA, some I'd never spoken to, started approaching me quietly. "Is it true we have to pay to use the dock?" one woman asked. "We didn't realize it belonged to you." I nodded politely. "Yes, and all funds go toward keeping the lake clean and safe for everyone. If you want access, it's $25 per family." The murmur among the crowd was immediate. Half the HOA families rolled their eyes at Karen and refused to pay. The other half reluctantly handed me cash because they didn't want to deal with her screaming. Every dollar felt like a tiny victory. Karen, on the other hand, was losing control fast. She waved her arms, shouted, and demanded everyone listen to her. But the more she screamed, the more the families ignored her. It was like watching a volcano erupt in slow motion. Her power had vanished. Then I unveiled the final touch. I had built a small kiosk at the edge of the dock where visitors could rent paddleboards, kayaks, and even life jackets. I charged a small fee, all of which went directly to lake conservation. As families happily rented equipment and paddled around the sparkling water, Karen's face twisted in disbelief. Do you see this? I asked her, walking over. The lake is thriving, families are happy, and your attempts to control it? Completely useless. She froze, unable to respond. Her clipboard drooped to the ground, her megaphone hanging uselessly from her arm. I could almost hear the gears in her mind spinning. She had tried intimidation, she had tried legal threats, and now she was completely powerless. The cherry on top came when a local reporter pulled up in a small boat, camera in hand. We heard about the dock dispute, he said cheerfully. Can we get a few words from the owner? I nodded. Of course. This is a public lake, and my dock is here to help everyone enjoy it safely. All proceeds go to conservation. The reporter turned to Karen. And what do you think? Her jaw dropped. She tried to speak, but her usual sharp, commanding tone faltered. The cameras rolled, capturing her flustered expression as she stammered, unable to form a coherent argument. By the end of the interview, even she realized how ridiculous she looked. That day, Karen left the lake humiliated. Families waved goodbye as she drove off in silence, her white SUV like a defeated knight retreating from battle. I watched from my dock, Mike laughing beside me. For the first time, the water was calm, peaceful, and completely mine to enjoy. The best part? Karen's obsession with the lake had turned into free promotion. More families came every weekend, eager to see the famous dock Karen tried to control. Donations for lake maintenance soared, and I even started a small newsletter sharing tips for lake safety and cleanup days. By the end of the summer, the lake had transformed into a vibrant community hub, my community hub, where Karen's influence had no power. Every time she tried to rally the HOA or post angry updates online, her messages were ignored, or worse, mocked. She had lost her grip entirely, and it was incredibly satisfying to see justice served without ever resorting to confrontation. And as the sun set on Silver Pine Lake, reflecting golden streaks across the water, I leaned back on my dock, sipping a cold drink, and smiled. Not just because the lake was thriving, but because sometimes the best revenge isn't yelling, lawsuits, or drama. Sometimes it's building something so good, so thriving, and so untouchable that the Karens of the world simply have no choice but to watch and defeat. That lake wasn't just water and trees anymore. It was freedom. It was peace. And most importantly, it was my victory.